How's she going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's workshop. I'm glad you dropped in. I like it when you come to the shop, boys. There's no two ways about it. Anyways, today's video, it's a shop heating video. It's a video about shop heating. My shop, I have no insulation in my shop. First of all, let's just say that I have no insulation. I have a little bit here and there, but basically there's no insulation in my shop. And last fall I bought a kerosene/diesel fired space heater. I'll put a link up here for that one, for that video if you want to go look at it. That works good, that heater. It warms the shop up nice to a nice working temperature, and takes probably half hour, 45 minutes, so no issues with that at all. But the heating and cooling cycle in the shop is causing me some grief. So what we're up to today is we're going to try to come up with a solution to handle that heating and cooling cycle. So one of the biggest problems I have with the heating and the cooling in the shop is condensation. Because the shop is not insulated, I have bits and pieces of insulation here and there, but basically my shop is not insulated. It's a stud framed building with house wrap around the outside and then some sheathing. So what happens is the house wrap on the inside of the building gets frosty when it's cold out. This morning when I came in the shop, it was probably, I don't know, I'm going to say -5 in here this morning. And there was frost on the house wrap. Now just wait till I just show you this. I hope you can see this good here, but this is the house wrap. It's black on the inside. And there was frost showing up on that. And that's not abnormal. I mean, it was cold out this morning. But when I put the heat on in the shop with my heater, then that frost, of course, melts. And what does it do? Well, it runs down. And here you see on this little ledge, let me give it the light, that's all wet. The studs are getting wet along the edges here. Over there you can see them wet down there. On the floor, the water runs out on the floor. There's a real bad spot right there, look at that. I thought it was like rainwater getting in, but hey, it hasn't rained since, I don't know, a while. But anyways, there's lots of condensation forming and dripping in the shop. So because I end up with this condensation dripping down off the walls, I'm concerned first of all about rot, definitely about rot. The bottom sill plate of my walls is pressure treated wood, so I don't know that the bottom plate will rot, but the studs are getting really, really wet, and I'm concerned about them maybe rotting over time. I could solve this, I guess, with putting insulation in the shop, but that's a costly project, and I don't know that I want to go that way. So what else can I do? I'm thinking when you talk about vapor barrier, like what exactly happens when you use vapor barrier? Okay, as I understand it, here's my wall. This is the sheathing on the outside of my wall. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick, right? And then I have house wrap in there. And then I have my stud wall here. Right? So this is the cold out here, and this is the heated side. And as the heat meets this cold wall, condensation forms. Now I'm sure this is not new to anybody. The condensation forms on the heated side, right? So this all gets condensate. The condensate will then drip down and come out on my floor. It was so bad here the other day that there was ice on the floor. So what I'm thinking, what I'd like to do is to try to combat this condensation from forming. I was thinking I'm going to put vapor barrier on here. So, you know, normally when you build a wall, you do it this way. You have the sheathing, the house wrap, the stud wall. You fill the stud wall cavity with insulation. Then you put the vapor barrier on the warm side, and you're golden, right? So I'm thinking, what's going to happen here with no insulation? I just have an air gap in here. My pen is running out of gas here. So this is just going to be an air gap because I'm not putting insulation in. So then I put my vapor barrier on here. So my concern now is, will this whole area here, from the sheathing through the house wrap, through the air gap, and this vapor barrier, will that all be cold? And then when the heat gets on the inside of the shop and meets this vapor barrier, will condensation then continue to form here and just drip down out onto the floor like before? That's my concern. In a house, of course, we have insulation in here, so the insulation prevents the very super cold, I guess, from getting to the vapor barrier. So I assume that there's no condensation forms on that. But it is called a vapor barrier for a reason. It keeps the vapor on the warm side, keeps it out of the insulation. But the thing is, I don't want my vapor on the inside, right? Now another thing in a house is, normally, you warm a house and it stays warm. So when this condensation forms and it evaporates eventually, then it just stays evaporated. There's no change in temperature, mainly big changes in temperature in the living area of the house. So that condensation doesn't come back. But here in the shop, I heat it, you know, for a couple hours a day. It's warm, and then I go away and it cools down again. Then I come back the next morning, heat it up, and condensation forms. So I'm not sure whether putting vapor barrier on the wall is going to solve my condensation problem or not, but I'm going to try it. So one area that I'm going to work on is over here where I have my computer. I have a piece of wall board set up on there. Behind that wall board there's 2 inches of styrofoam insulation, but no vapor barrier. And then in these cavities, of course, there's no insulation. So my little project that I'm going to do here for a test is I'm going to move my computer desk and everything out of the way. I'm going to strip that wall board off there, strip that wall down completely, strip this wall, everything off that wall. Then I'm going to put vapor barrier from the ceiling to the floor, probably from the far corner there, right across maybe to the edge of this, by that outlet plug. And then I'll put all that sheathing and everything back in place, and I'll just see if I still get condensation formed at the bottom here. So we got the wall board put back on. Floor is pretty wet along the edge there, and that's just condensation coming off the house wrap. So we're going to leave it now tonight. It's good. It's supposed to be good and cold tonight, and I'll go out tomorrow morning, put the heat on, and we'll see. There's this water that's on the floor. Tomorrow morning should all be ice, so we can check that, and then we'll just see if we get any kind of condensation buildup in behind that vapor barrier. I'm kind of thinking that we're going to, but I don't know. It's a good test, I guess. The other thing is, it's already soaked in there, and now I'm closing all that up with no air getting at it, so it's a great spot now for mold to grow. But after I do this test, if it works, I'll just pull that vapor barrier back and let that breathe a little bit. And I don't think now is the time. If this experiment works, I don't think now is the time to do the whole barn with the vapor barrier, the whole shop. But it'll be a project for the summer perhaps. Well, we're out here in the shop this morning now after doing this little job last night, putting the vapor barrier up just to see if it make any kind of a difference. I had the heater going now for a half hour. It was about -2 when I came in the shop this morning, and now it's about 8 degrees. This is Celsius. So we're going to check and just see what we can see down here. To be honest, it's wet there in the corner, but it was wet last night before I went in. It's not as wet across here. It looks like this ledge of 2x4 here is dried up some. The sheathing, the house wrap on the sheathing, doesn't appear to be damp there, so I'm not sure if there was actually frost on it this morning. So this is an inconclusive test, I'm going to say. So we'll just leave it and monitor it for another day or two and just see what happens. Okay, it's been a couple of days now since I did this little vapor barrier mod, and you'll see there's still moisture on the floor. It doesn't seem to be as bad, but then again it hasn't been as cold. So I mean that's just what happens, I guess. If you look here where there's no vapor barrier, there's no moisture on that, and that ledge there is dry now. But like I say, it wasn't that cold the last couple of days, so not so much humidity formed or condensation. I had a dehumidifier, so I went and got my dehumidifier and plugged that in, and it's been running now for a day and a half. The tank on it holds about 20 liters of water, and it's just about full, so I've taken 20 liters of water out of the shop, but you see it's still damp here. One good thing though, the base plate there behind the vapor barrier is still wet, so I guess maybe the dehumidifier is getting the condensation from within the camp, but there's quite a bit still here in the corner, so I don't know, I don't think this vapor barrier trick is going to work. So the vapor barrier on the wall, jury's still out on that one. Not sure whether this is going to work or not, but we'll monitor it over the next couple of days and I'll give you an update how we're making out. So you know, if you have any ideas, if you think this is a good idea or not, or any other suggestions, you know, put some comments down below, let me know what you think, and we'll see if we can you know, make it work. So thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate all the time you give to the channel, and for my regular viewers, boys oh boys, so I'm glad you dropped by. And for anybody new to the channel, welcome. I'm so glad you dropped by too. So stay safe, everyone. Don't forget, thumbs up me. Have a great week. We'll talk to you.